After George Floyd was killed in 2020, people gathered in Pasadena, California to fill 8 minutes with noise. At the time, the number of minutes a police officer was thought to have knelt on George Floyd's neck. As a moment of silence, 8 minutes would have been powerful, but 8 minutes of making noise is harder. This is what is required for a more just, more equitable future. NLADA's focus for the 2022 Beacon of Justice Awards is sustaining racial equity and hope. We encourage our community and partners to consider long-term strategies and approaches that embed racial equity into their everyday practice and pro bono work. Congratulations to all the winners of this year's Beacon of Justice Awards. They are Aiken Gump, Baker McKenzie, Crowell and Mooring, Deckert, Dentons, DLA Piper, Hanson Bridget, Hunt and Andrews Kurth, Kirkland and Ellis, Latham and Watkins, Mintz, Nelson Mullins, Squire Patton Boggs, Steptoe and Johnson, Stinson, Wilmer Hale, Wilson Sonsini, and Zuckerman Spader. Keep an eye out for the Beacon of Justice book that will be published later this summer, outlining the 2022 Beacon of Justice winners' commitment to pro bono work.
In the wake of the murder of George Floyd, Aiken Gump's pro bono practice looked for ways to further engage with the issue of anti-racism. One immediate action was to help found the law firm Anti-Racism Alliance in 2020.
Through our work with the law firm Anti-Racism Alliance, we were asked to work with NAACP LDF, the ACLU of Florida, and Florida-based Community Justice Project to challenge Florida House Bill 1, known as HB 1, which was passed in early 2021 in direct response to the racial justice protests of 2020. The proponents of HB 1 tried to paint these protests as overwhelmingly violent and passed a sweeping new law to stop these protests when they already had laws on the books to address actual violent protests.
HB 1 had several troubling provisions, but our clients, who are grassroots racial justice organizations, were most troubled by Section 15. That section was written in such broad and vague language that it seemed to allow the police to round up anyone who participated in a protest that later turned violent, even if they had nothing to do with the violence, if it was caused by counter-protesters or instigators or the like. So we worked really closely with our partner organizations to develop a litigation strategy, and then we filed for a preliminary injunction in July of 2021.
After oral arguments in September 2021, U.S. District Court Judge Mark Walker issued an opinion enjoining Section 15 of HB 1. His opinion put the racial elements of the law into historical context. In 1956 and 1961, Florida's anti-riot laws were used to suppress activities threatening the state's Jim Crow status quo. What's past is prologue. Now this court is faced with a new definition of riot, one that the Florida legislature created following a summer of nationwide protests for racial justice against police violence and the murder of George Floyd and many other people of color, and in support of the powerful statement that Black Lives Matter. The question before this court is whether the new definition is constitutional. The answer was no. Florida's new law was not constitutional and could not limit our clients' rights to protest for racial justice.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angela Vigil, and I am the partner and executive director of the pro bono practice at Baker & McKenzie. I am so proud that the pro bono practice is being recognized for the second consecutive year as a Beacon of Justice Award winner. Anti-racism work is core to our pro bono efforts, and we are very proud of doing the work when we can to fight for those who often don't have a voice, that aren't given a voice to fight for themselves. I'm proud of how we are doing our best to take innovative and reinventing efforts in social justice when it comes to fighting racism and all kinds of discrimination. A couple of examples: we have started what is a first of its kind global effort called Real Rights, creating a resource for young people to understand their rights when they are engaging with police and understand what the limits of police power are and what they can do to remedy a situation where they feel like their rights weren't respected. We call that Real Rights, and we are working on it across the globe with some of our friends from other legal departments and with NGOs who are leading the effort to make the world a safer place for young people in particular and young people of color when they come into contact with law enforcement. Another effort we're proud was recognized is one of our homeless youth handbooks. An effort we started over 5 years ago is now a core expected effort of the community around the country that is serving young people experiencing homelessness. This year, we published our homeless youth handbooks in Oregon and Massachusetts, and we continue this effort to try to make sure that young people who experience homelessness have access to their rights. Finally, it is a very big year in the issue of democracy and voting rights, and we were very proud to be able to bring litigation in the arena of voting rights in the state of Florida. We are so proud to be part of the effort around the legal community to fight for the rights of those who often do not have the power to fight for themselves. We're very proud to be honored with the Beacon Award this year and congratulate our fellow nominees and awardees.
Harlem Park, a predominantly Black neighborhood. During the lockdown, residents were routinely stopped by police when they came and went from their homes, and their names were run through law enforcement databases. 4 Harlem Park residents filed a federal court lawsuit alleging that their state and federal constitutional rights were violated. Alongside co-counsel ACLU of Maryland, we successfully represented the Harlem Park residents, reaching a settlement and obtaining a rare public apology on June 28, 2021. The settlement requires the Baltimore City Police Department to adopt and enforce policies aimed at ensuring that nothing similar happens again.
A lawsuit filed in May 2021 by Kroll and co-counsel ACLU of Maryland challenged the continued placement of a Confederate monument known as the Talbot Boys statue at the Talbot County Courthouse in Easton as unconstitutional under the Equal Protection Clause and illegal under federal and state civil rights laws. This was the last statue glorifying the Confederacy remaining on public grounds in Maryland. In response to the lawsuit, the County Council passed a resolution on September 14, 2021, directing that the Talbot Boys statue be moved from the courthouse to a private battlefield in Virginia. And the statue was removed from the county courthouse March 14, 2022.
Kroll achieved a significant victory that helped protect the right to vote for thousands of individuals with felony convictions in Louisiana. Working alongside VOTE and the Advancement Project, we helped develop and advocate for legislation that was signed into law in June of 2021. This legislation ensures that individuals sentenced only to probation won't lose their voting rights and prevents government officials from expending unnecessary resources to suspend and have to subsequently restore those same rights.
Our dedication to pro bono and public service is a core part of who we are as a firm. We continually challenge ourselves to create change that improves lives in the communities around us. We take pride in the variety of work that we do to give a voice to those who might not otherwise be heard. Thank you.
There was and remains a lack of publicly available information about police use of force by law enforcement agencies across the country. And the goal, at least initially, was to compile a single source, a database from which the general public could access police use of force data. We understood from the client that they would look to us to work with as many as 200 local law enforcement agencies across the country. And so we equitably divided the workload among all of the participants and got everyone up to speed on how to submit FOIA requests in the various jurisdictions.
So we started with a list of about 15 different data fields, from age, race, and gender of the victim, age, race, and gender of the police officer, location of the incident, whether it was a school, a house, a sidewalk, for example, whether the victim sustained any injuries, and whether the police officer was wearing a body camera.
And many jurisdictions would respond by saying they don't maintain use of force data in that way, and that they were not required under their state law to prepare a response to a FOIA request. And so participants in the project had to work with these law enforcement agencies to identify the method by which they maintain the information. And it included things like actual police incident reports, which within them contain certain of the criteria we were seeking.
The actual police use of force data we received was analyzed by the client and a data analytics firm that they engaged at the University of Chicago to review all of the results and smooth it out in a standardized way for the website. The Accountable Now website launched in early February 2021 and is publicly available to anyone online. Today, the website shows the police use of force data from over 150 police departments so far. Everyone who participated was organized, engaged, and I think really inspired. We were all in on trying to make a difference with respect to this national issue. For the lawmakers to pass new legislation reforming police training and/or police behavior with the public, they need the data to understand the specifics of the issue. As the website itself says, public safety will not change without transparency. Accountable Now creates that transparency.
I really do believe that the Accountable Now project, the idea of a living database of police use of force data, could have an enduring impact.
Hi everybody, my name is Ben Weinberg. I'm the pro bono partner at Denton's. On behalf of my entire firm, we want to thank NLADA for this lovely recognition. And more importantly, to thank NLADA for all of the work you have done and are doing to help lead the fight for racial justice and equality. Denton's has a long and proud history of doing substantial racial justice pro bono work. Part of Denton's was originally founded in Chicago by Jewish lawyers who were excluded from Chicago firms. As a result, the founders made it an explicit part of the responsibilities of lawyers and professionals at Denton's to help others who face discrimination and exclusion. As a result, long before the murder of George Floyd, Denton's already was doing important work like helping to lead litigation in Montgomery, Alabama, to end the system of racially discriminatory traffic fines and fees. It's why upwards of 30 Denton's lawyers and professionals joined the Promise of Justice Initiative's project to overturn the blatantly racist operation of the Louisiana Jim Crow jury system. And it's precisely why Denton's lawyers and professionals joined together with folks from so many other firms to help found and operate the law firm Anti-Racism Alliance, LFAA. Let's be clear. We still have a tremendous amount of work to do to help NLADA and others advance anti-racism. And we are in the fight for the long haul. At the same time, we also realize that as a firm, we have a lot of work to do internally to make sure that we are walking the walk. And that's why I'm especially proud of the powerful allyship initiative that is led at our firm by Ada Ejekimi.
I'm very proud to work at a law firm where our leaders understand the true value of diversity and inclusion. One of our programs that I'm most excited about this year is our Ally Pods. An Ally Pod is a small group of colleagues who come together across office, across practice group and function, and across level, and they come together to engage in meaningful conversation about topics that some of us sometimes find difficult to talk about. Topics like microaggressions, allyship, covering, cultural competence, intersectionality, and more. The Ally Pods are really contributing to the creation of a truly inclusive environment at the firm where all colleagues can feel comfortable to be their full selves. And something else that I'm really excited about is that Sonia Martin, our CEO, and many of our firm leaders across the region participated in the Ally Pods.
Community service has been a centerpiece of Hanson Bridget's practice since its founding more than 60 years ago.
In 2020, we committed to using our platform and our resources to more intentionally and aggressively work against racial inequity, and that commitment continues.
My name is Nadeem Higazi, and I'm the treasurer of the Charles Houston Bar Association, the largest African-American bar association in Northern California. I'd like to commend Hanson Bridget for working with our organization on a pro bono basis over the last 2 years to establish the Charles Houston Bar Institute, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The mission of the Charles Houston Bar Institute is, in part, to support social justice causes that promote the elimination of bias, systemic racism, and racial inequality. By helping to establish the Charles Houston Bar Institute, Hanson Bridget has significantly helped to further that purpose.
In 2021, we continued expanding on this work, appointing the firm's first Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, and creating my role as the firm's first Director of Pro Bono and Social Impact. Last year, 75% of the firm's attorneys provided pro bono legal services as part of their practice.
We appreciate Hanson Bridget being a founding partner of last year's Level program. It was a program to support historically marginalized business owners through their certification process. This program intended to support Black, Indigenous, people of color who also identify as women who hoped to join the B Corp community, of which Hanson Bridget was a founding certified B Corp in the world.
Hello, my name is Alicia Kidd, and I am the owner of the Wine Noir. The pro bono legal services offered by Hanson Bridget and my attorney, Teresa Powell, has helped me go through the B Corp certification process and become B certified.
Hanson Bridget is proud to be part of the fight for racial equity, and we are honored and humbled to stand with NLADA and all of this year's award recipients to continue the fight. Thank you.
we were, in a lot of respects, in uncharted waters here because the emergency powers law was not fully developed in prior litigation. There was not a lot of law regarding this state statute, regarding war monuments. And so we had to do a lot of quick thinking. You know, I'm very proud of it. In the first place, you know, I've been at the firm for 46 years, and in that time, I'm a litigator, and I've defended a lot of big companies, a lot of big institutions. I've been proud of the work I've done and the clients I've represented, and it's been wonderful. But you don't get a whole lot of cases where you can say, I'm really proud from a social standpoint or a historical standpoint. And this was one of them. I mean, this is one of the few cases I've handled where my kids have actually said, golly, what a, you know, we're glad you're involved in this.
My name is Mike Jones. I'm a litigation partner at Kirkland & Ellis, where I practiced law for almost 35 years. I got involved in the Maryland HBCU litigation in 2009. I had attended an HBCU and was on the board of an HBCU. It was really interesting to me because of the historical civil rights issues that it presented, as well as the opportunity to help bring to bear the resources and talent of Kirkland & Ellis to provide what we hope would be a historical level of funding for the schools and the Black students in Maryland. We put some 30,000 hours in the case. There were 2 long trials. There were 5 mediations, and each of the mediations was multiple weeks long. We had an appeal in the 4th Circuit. When all of that failed in terms of negotiating with the executive branch, I decided we would deal directly with the legislators. We reached a settlement of $577 million, which is one of the largest pro bono settlements in American history. And what made the case especially unique is it's the only case ever that was brought entirely by private litigants. This was going to make a huge difference in the lives of Black students, how they envision using the funds to help not just the universities and the students, but the surrounding communities. Given the stakes, even though it was a long, hard fight, we had to continue until victory was in our hands. Retreat simply wasn't an option. There are some times when the government either won't act or can't act, and then in those kind of cases, a large law firm with the resources and talent of Kirkland & Ellis can step in and bring justice to a community that needs it.
Hi, everyone. My name's Ann Robinson, and I'm a litigation and trial partner at Latham & Watkins. I'm also global chair of the firm's pro bono committee, and it's my tremendous honor to accept the National Legal Aid and Defender Association's Beacon of Justice Award. Our firm cares so deeply about giving back to the communities where we live and where we work. Combating systemic injustices and preserving civil rights are the cornerstones of our pro bono work. We've recently had the privilege of working on a number of impactful and rewarding matters. And these include partnering with the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law and the Brennan Center for Justice to mount a successful challenge to the federal government's effort to truncate the decennial census. We assisted an independent panel charged in investigating the circumstances surrounding the 2019 death of 19-year-old Elijah McClain, an unarmed Black man, during an encounter with police and paramedics in Aurora, Colorado. And we launched a new initiative to provide pro bono counsel to those impacted by the Windrush scandal in the UK, predominantly Black immigrants from Commonwealth countries. And finally, we supported the Emmett Till Interpretive Center in its community-led efforts to get federal recognition and protection of historic sites connected to Emmett Till, who was kidnapped, tortured, and lynched in 1955 at age 14. At Latham, we believe in giving voice to the voiceless and increasing access to justice. And we stand in awe and admiration of the incredible work the National Legal Aid and Defender Association does each and every day to assist those who cannot afford legal services. Thank you again for this recognition, and congratulations to all of the other honorees.
My name is Sue Finnegan, and I serve as chair of the Pro Bono Committee at MINTS. And on behalf of all of the attorneys at MINTS, we're thrilled to be receiving the National Legal Aid and Defenders Association Beacon of Justice Award this year. This past year, the firm has continued to commit itself to addressing systemic racism in the communities in which we serve.
At MINTS, we are laser focused on moving towards change with intention and purpose. Our diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy is driven and backed by data, by social science, and by feedback from our employees. That strategy is helping us build a better firm and a better legal industry.
And while we could give several examples of some of the work that our attorneys and staff have been doing throughout the year, we thought we'd highlight two.
Hello, Nick Armington here, and so proud of MINTS for making the Corey Sealing Clinic possible and allowing us to make a positive and lasting impact on our clients' lives by helping them to seal their Coreys.
For the past year, MINTS has worked collaboratively with Lawyers for Civil Rights and Sidley Austin in representing a group of interveners in the highly publicized litigation surrounding the selection criteria for admission to Boston's highly selective public schools. The interveners consist of the NAACP, the Greater Boston Latino Network, and the Asian Pacific Islander Civic Action Network, among others. These groups ensured that the central concerns of racial equity in admissions criteria were properly presented to the court.
Congratulations to all the awardees, and thank you, NLADA, for your unwavering commitment to racial equity and access to justice.
Hi, I'm Catherine Lawler. On behalf of Nelson Mullins, I want to thank the National Legal Aid and Defender Association for the recognition of our racial equity pro bono efforts. We feel as if we've just begun this work, but also that it has been a long-standing commitment for the last 32 years at the firm. Nelson Mullins focused on a diverse range of racial equity matters in 2021. As leadership partner of the Racial Justice Project for Lawyers for Good Government, the firm dedicated 1,500 hours on 6 national racial legal research projects to help drive legislative and systemic change. Also, to help find solutions related to the eviction crisis, we assisted in the creation of the Model Eviction Diversion Pro Bono Project in collaboration with the South Carolina chapter of the NAACP and South Carolina Appleseed. We also supported landlord-tenant projects in 6 other states. The firm created and organized a model South Carolina rental assistance clinic to include South Carolina Appleseed, University of South Carolina Law, and bar members. We worked on finding procedural solutions for tenants, including the state contracting with the South Carolina chapter of the NAACP for application support in rural areas. Another effort included representing peaceful protesters and filing a class action in Louisiana on their behalf with the ACLU Louisiana Justice Lab project. We were able to secure a full reversal of qualified immunity, all within a conservative circuit for a published opinion. In addition, after learning that X-ray scans would be used on a vulnerable population in Flint, Michigan, despite objections to the safety and reliability of the machines, the firm represented the doctor objector to remove provisions from the Flint Water Settlement Agreement regarding the XRF bone scans to test for lead poisoning. Further, 3 appeals were filed in 2 matters to protect sacred religious lands. The appeals arose from instances in which the federal government threatened or destroyed ancient sacred sites
central to the religious worship of Native people indigenous to Arizona and Oregon. Also, over 2 years, thousands of hours were spent on litigation against a youth detention center for inadequate living conditions, extended cell confinement, and lack of adequate education for youth of color who are overrepresented in juvenile facilities. And finally, our corporate lawyers continue using their skills to create innovative social impact funds in several states to support low-income minority community developments, guaranteed income initiatives, and a college tuition program to help attend minority higher education institutions. In the years to come, we look forward to sustaining our racial equity work for a more just and equal society.
My name is Corrine Irish. I am the pro bono partner for SQUIRE Patent BOGGS. Last year, our firm committed to expanding its efforts to promoting and supporting racial equity in this country. In addition to our long-standing criminal justice pro bono practice, we also supported economic development in communities of color, and we provided services to nonprofits who served communities of color or otherwise supported racial equity. In addition to that, we had several panels and discussions, both within the firm and for the public, about promoting diversity in the workplace, about stopping AAPI hate, and otherwise supporting communities of color.
My name is Rodney Slater, and I'm the chairman of the SQUIRE Patent BOGGS Foundation. We're very excited about our Racial Justice Impact Fellowship, the focus on voting rights, juvenile justice, a focus on veteran affairs, a focus on really criminal justice reform and law enforcement relations with the African American community in particular. We now have 4 Racial Justice Impact Fellowships. One working with the Lone Star Justice Alliance in Dallas, Texas. Another with the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Another with the Charlottesville Police Department in Charlottesville, Virginia. And then finally with the Citizen Complaint Authority of Cincinnati. We're excited about the fellowships that we offer in this space. We look forward to continued efforts to make our efforts successful, working with others, and we consider the honor that we received tonight as an example of others seeing our good work and wanting to work with us to lift it up. So thank you for this special recognition.
Hi, I'm Janae Nurse, and I have the privilege of being a senior attorney in the Public Service Initiative, also known as PSI. PSI embodies SQUIRE's commitment and dedication to not only public interest work, but also to rectifying the injustices in the criminal justice system. PSI focuses on resource-intensive matters, including capital and actual innocence cases, habeas cases, and other criminal matters in jurisdictions where indigent, mostly Black and brown individuals, have limited or no access to effective legal services. Last year, SQUIRE devoted significant resources to PSI's work, including our COVID litigation for prisoners in Arkansas. PSI also continued our litigation on behalf of our client, Rodney Reed, who is incarcerated on death row in Texas. Despite strong evidence of innocence, Mr. Reed continues to be on death row, where he's remained for decades.
Hi, my name is Tamara Fraser. The SQUIRE Patent BOGGS Patent Pro Bono program was established in 2021. It's part of a U.S. Patent Office program to expand access to the innovation ecosystem, as they call it. Research has shown that women, minorities, and low-income individuals from across America are significantly underrepresented on patents. They're just not named. One part of the problem is the lack of awareness of patents. One part of the problem is lack of access to patent counsel. We're members of 2 programs, one in Ohio, one in California, that connect low-income inventors with qualified patent counsel. Through this program, we've helped several individuals, many of color, pursue their patent rights. This includes rights on inventions ranging from mechanical devices to therapeutics to even a plant. We're really pleased to be able to leverage our expertise, our knowledge of patents for the benefit of these diverse and deserving inventors and to help expand access to the patent system. Thank you.
Hello, my name is April Williams, partner at WilmerHale and co-chair of our Racial Justice Reform Initiative. The firm is so proud to be recognized with a Beacon of Justice Award and to be part of the efforts to advance racial equity. I am pleased to welcome my WilmerHale colleagues who will discuss a few pro bono efforts, which we are particularly proud to share with you all.
Cities around the country are targeting encampments where our most vulnerable citizens reside, including many people of color. Boston was one of those cities, enacting an executive order and protocol for encampments in the vicinity of Massachusetts Avenue and Melnicast Boulevard that forced individuals off the street with no consideration for whether congregate shelters would be appropriate for their needs. We filed suit to prevent the arrest and prosecution of those who have functionally no other place to go. After we filed, the city committed, under new leadership, to provide temporary housing for these individuals. We're now close to resolving, but continue to monitor the situation.
Hi, my name is Megan McCoy, and I'm a senior associate at WilmerHale. Over the last 2 years, we've represented our client, Mr. Akeem Smith, in a civil rights suit brought under Section 1983 to hold Maryland State Police officers accountable for their unlawful use of a police dog to attack Mr. Smith while he was handcuffed and pinned face down on the ground. As a result of the attack, Mr. Smith has suffered serious injuries to his foot and severe emotional and psychological injuries. Mr. Smith's claims withstood a motion to dismiss filed by the state of Maryland, and we are now in the middle of discovery. We have no doubt that the facts Mr. Smith intends to prove at trial will establish that the Maryland State Police officers intentionally and knowingly used excessive force.
Hello, everyone. Luke Liss from Wilson Sonsini here. We are so thankful to receive the National Legal Aid and Defender Association's Beacon of Justice Award for the second consecutive year for work sustaining racial equity and hope. Since the founding of our pro bono program by the great Harry Bremond, one of the first Black attorneys in the Bay Area, these issues have been near and dear to our pro bono program. And our goal is not just to sustain, but to enhance and increase our work in these areas. And over the past year, we've done that, whether it's smashing our previous pledge we made to increase our services for work in racial equity and racial justice and civil rights, whether it's our Juneteenth Day of Service and celebration that we kicked off last year with over 450 employees participating, and hopefully more this year across the US and across Europe, engaging with communities, engaging in acts of service, and engaging in pro bono, or whether it's with work such as litigation with the ACLU of Louisiana in their Justice Lab project, fighting discriminatory policing in Louisiana, or whether it's with the bail bond clinic with the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, assisting people who have been targeted by bail bond companies, or whether it's all the work we do on the nonprofit side, helping Black-owned small businesses and nonprofits in various avenues with our corporate and transactional folks. The energy and the spirit for this work are just so inspiring at our firm. And I want to thank our leadership at the firm for all the support for pro bono over the years that has only increased, and also just the wonderful Wilson Sonsini community for all of their energy and spirit and heart for this work. And we're more determined than ever. So again, thank you, NLADA. I look forward to seeing everyone and celebrating all the award winners on June 9th at the event in DC. So thank you again. We really appreciate it and we're thankful.
The Beacon of Justice Award provides meaningful recognition of law firms' pro bono commitments to the community. For the second year in a row, Zuckerman Spader was honored with this award for our efforts to address racial inequities locally and on the national level. As co-chair of Zuckerman Spader's pro bono program, this recognition is a wonderful reflection of the firm's efforts to further racial equity through affirmative litigation, criminal justice cases, representation in housing matters, and assistance to children in the immigration system. Throughout the course of each year, many of our lawyers participate in these important efforts.
By way of example, last year we began a partnership with the Southern Poverty Law Center and the American Civil Liberties Union to represent a U.S. lawful permanent resident from Jamaica who had been unlawfully detained by a Florida sheriff on the false suspicion that he lacked lawful status or was removable. In this matter, we challenged both our client's unlawful detention and the sheriff's discriminatory policy of detaining and referring all foreign-born individuals, or those who are perceived to be foreign-born, to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. We have filed suit in Florida seeking damages and injunctive and declaratory relief. These types of pro bono engagements, in which we are able to advocate for justice on behalf of individuals whose constitutional and civil rights have been violated and face challenges in raising those issues without the assistance of legal counsel, are very meaningful to me.
The matter that Alyssa shared is one of the many engagements that our firm focused on this year. Together, we also fought for the rights of immigrant children, against discriminatory Housing Act violations and eviction proceedings, against the use of predatory fees to block access to records, to secure compensation for an individual denied medical care while incarcerated, and for the compassionate release of non-violent offenders. These projects are examples of the significant issues that minorities in America continue to face. We are honored to be one of the firms receiving the prestigious Beacon of Justice Award, and we commit to continuing these efforts alongside our peers.